Boom. We are live.
Okay, we're live.
We are live.
Oh my goodness. We are live. We are back every Monday as promised. And today we have a really amazing guest with us. No other than Richard Dolan himself. We're going to wait for him in the green room.
I thought you meant me. I
Oh,
thought you
you're
meant
always
me.
You don't need any introduction. You don't need any introduction at all. But let's for our audience sake right now, just get an update on what's going on in the life of Mike Rador, who is being tested by the universe and travel and all the things. What is happening and where are you?
You see what I have right up there? Everywhere I go, I always have a picture of my daughter and a teddy bear I give her next time I see her. He's always with me, no matter where I go.
So is that the gift? Like she hasn't received it yet then, right?
No. So I buy gifts to her everywhere I go. But besides that, I'm now situated in an Airbnb, still in Spain. I'm stuck in Spain. My third flight got canceled towards Dubai. I'm still without access to my funds. I'm humbled down to
Holy smokes.
I'm humbled down to a level that I've never been humbled before, because I literally have to borrow cash from friends to make it work. But cash in is still open, so that's good. But yeah, that's the status, and hopefully
good.
I will leave to Dubai on Wednesday. So that's the status.
Without getting into details, the cash scenario, how's that going to resolve itself? Is it just a matter of time, or you just have to get to Dubai?
The moment I arrive in the geographical location UAE, I have access.
Okay. Oh my gosh. So
but it's not like something. It's not that UAE has locked my cash, or it's not that I'm frozen out. It's just a matter of having a new phone, and I can't receive the OTPs, which is giving me access to log into my banks.
Wow. So like a learning curve, obviously, right?
Oh God, yeah. It's when you search online, it's like a rookie mistake.
Oh my gosh. Well, that being said, like you being humbled down and like operating without cash flow. We're talking today actually with a gentleman who is one of the advisors, like wealth builders and financial advisors to some major icons. I don't want to name drop who his clients are. I will wait for him to share what he's comfortable with. I know who they are personally, some of them, but that's not for me to say. How are you handling your mindset and your budgeting? Like, what have you had to do to pivot in order to adjust and still do what you need to do?
So I don't really, it doesn't affect me because I can't control it. It's out of my control. So you can get upset about it. You can ruminate about it. You can let that little voice go crazy, but come on, I can't do nothing about it. So it's just to control the controllables. And that's one of the biggest learnings in my life, is that I focus on what I can move, and I can't move that. So I just don't focus on it. I planned it. I take everything I can do for it, but that's about it. And then I leave it.
Yeah. I love that. Because what I'm hearing the most is that you are not focusing on what you can't control, and you're literally just doing what you can control, which is, your daily routine. Let's chat a little bit about that. And by the way, we are here creating Man Up Mondays to, first of all, raise awareness for the fact that Mike new book, Man Up, is available. It is available for pre-sale. And at the end of the month, it is going to be, all the chapters will be released, and you're going to be able to get his, I don't even want to call it a memoir. How are you referring to this book, Mike?
I think it's a testimony for the lifestyle that I've hidden for decades, right? It's the image that people who knows me, who've been following me for years, they will be, holy crap. So it's all my dirty secrets. I take them into a point of my life where everything seemed fine, and then it cracked, and I'm bringing them in very close to the lifestyle I was living and the years I was living like that, and then my complete reset and the journey back. And I also serve them with profound perspectives that I learned on my journey that transformed me and really is transforming hundreds of high achieving men today, and the tools. So it's an authentic toolbox.
Yeah, and this toolbox that you created for yourself, it all started with your own, quest for betterment, for becoming, as you said, a man to admire, right? And you created this 6-step process. How did you come about this 6-step process? And while we're waiting for Richard to come on board, can you share a little bit about that? Because you are now providing this 6-step blueprint to modern men today, and that's the title of our talk today, is Modern Men. So share a little bit about the 6-step blueprint and how you came to that protocol.
Yeah, when life cracks, there's nobody who has invented this before, because you have the 12 steps of anonymous alcoholics, but I wasn't an alcoholic. I was more living a lifestyle that was not what I wanted, and I kept getting in my own way. So I was looking everywhere. Where should I start? How do I kill this guy? How do I destroy that identity? How do I destroy my need for validation? How do I destroy my need for X, Y, and Z? How do I destroy my habits? Because most programs out there today, Camelia, they kind of give you mindset tips and hacks and slap it on top of a broken identity. And that's the problem. Then you find yourself 3 weeks later, you're back in the same hole where you started, right? Most men listening to this channel, they know that. They start something and it just doesn't seem to work. But I couldn't afford that anymore. So I went on that journey. I went deep. So I just knew that the first step that I wanted to take was to stop the behavior of that guy. Just stop. Don't add anything. Stop it. And that was everything. And I took a cold turkey. And then over a course of 2 years, I went through stages. And then when I finally came out on the other side, so being a writer, being a coach, and it's almost an art. Being an artist, you can reflect back and you can simplify that process. So I took simplifications of what was it actually that worked. And while I was going back, I decided to write a book about it. So while I was writing, I became clear. So I constructed the process while I was writing. I was, sitting and thinking back, really deep reflecting and very emotional. And that was it, actually. So that's how I invented it. I went through it, and those 6 steps, I did a lot more than those 6 steps. I went through a lot, but I took what really worked. And I was very inspired when I came on the other side, because I gotta admit, there was an example. I give you a truth that is hard to. I don't mind talking about my period at that time. Sure. There was a point where I was separated from my ex, and I went out, and I decided to do drugs. And when I did drugs, I took the straw, you took the straw down in a bag that normally I would take the straw down to a bag of cocaine. I wouldn't mind, poof, and I would pop it up. But this was a bag it was colorful. It was not what I used. I didn't know what it was. And it just sent me out to another planet, and I got anxious, and it was terrible. And there I managed to call my ex, and I actually told her, it sent me to a goddamn rehab. I needed a rehab. I didn't need a rehab. I just needed to stop. So I remember I checked out those 12 steps, and I looked at them and said, man, that's actually interesting, but that's not really my problem. And it wasn't because of denial. I could just see that was not my problem. So I knew I was inspired by that. But then when I came through my process of doing what I was doing, I was very inspired by the 12 step of anonymous alcoholics, saying the way they have constructed it is so profound. It really changes lives. Yes. And I said, I really want to change life when it comes to self-sabotage. You can say self-sabotage is when you don't have an addiction for drugs. Drugs is just a part of you getting that validation or that dopamine kick. You have an addiction to sabotaging yourself. So we are literally addicted to sabotaging ourselves. That could be when you go into a relationship, you kind of have an addiction to fuck it up. You come into this amazing relationship and everything is going well. Now you just want to fuck it up. And there's something in you that wants to fuck it up. Or if you go on a journey with your physical shape and you've been now close to that peak stage of your physical shape, you just fuck it up. And that's the problem. That's like a problem where a lot of people are stuck. You're not an addict. You're not this. You're not that. You're kind of in the gray zone. And what do you do there? You get all these mindset hacks, but you slap it on top of a dog shit. Like I call it putting money on a dog shit. But you got to remove the dog shit first, right?
Yeah. But you know, you the first thing you said is you had broken identity. What does that mean to have broken identity?
You can call it in therapeutic language, it is cognitive dissonance.
Okay.
You have cognitive dissonance. So who you are is not who you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
So who you actually pretend to be when no one is watching, you're not that person. That's cognitive dissonance. So that's like a broken identity. You have a double life. You go out and you pretend to be someone, but you're acting that role so often. But then when nobody's watching, you're still sending shitty messages. You're still eating shit food. You're still breaking your promises. You're still scrolling in your phone at night until 10, 11 p.m. You still watch Netflix when you told yourself, I'm the guy. You go out and you tell people, yeah, man, I read books before I go to bed. You're not. You're watching Netflix. But that, you're kind of living in cognitive dissonance, and you start to believe in it so much that you don't even see it. And at one point, boom, that destroys everything. I figured out something else, I had a girl that left me when she figured I was broke. My image was good. I was respected by a lot of people because people can't take away from you what you have built. But she didn't come to me because of what I had built. She came to me from what I could give her, and she thought I could give her money, right? Now,
okay, but at what point? What stage, Mike? Like, when did she discover you were broke? Like, how long were you in? And by the way, your context of broke is like, just when you think a bad month is you doing 40,000, for some people that's like the most money they'll do in a year. Oh, we have Richard in the background here.
Richard comes in.
Okay, we're gonna pause that question. We're gonna bring Richard Dolan up.
Let's do it.
He is the man of the hour right now. Hey, Richard, how are you?
So good to be here with all you guys. Mike, what's going on? What's up, Carmelia? I so love watching what you do and how you do it. So always so good. Always so good.
Oh my God.
Good to meet you, Richard.
I creep you all the time, but thank you. And by the way, thank you so much for just being gracious with your time. I have been trying to lock down Richard, the rich life here. He's living the rich life and helping so many different people. So thank you. I do. And by the way, this is following International Women's Day, and I really think every day should be Women's Day. But yesterday, following International Women's Day, I thought it would be really important now to talk about the modern man, and the modern man in particular to making money, mindset, and then making.
Quick question: Do we have an International Man's Day?
Do you need one? Do you need one?
No, this is just a fair question. Do we have an International Man's Day? I don't know all these days. I'm asking of pure curiosity.
A real question. Okay. Richard?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not responsible for tracking these calendar days. I know we have, there used to be a Secretary Appreciation Day, and then there was a Love Your Pet Day. And I think what this brings sort of more attention to, based on your point, Mike, is like, I think we should pause for a moment and ask ourselves as a humanity, like, what do we really appreciate and must celebrate? And whatever's missing, we put in place. I mean, there's no International Kids Day either. We should also have a really great day where we celebrate our children and the future generation of this world to come. So I think that's a fair question, Mike. And if there's not a Man's International Appreciation Day, you should champion it.
I got it, Richard. I'll call you.
Now listen, I just got a notification. Something's going on with my battery power here, but I'm going to feature Richard right now. Richard, I'm going to give you the stage while I figure out my tech on my side. Please share with everyone, I guess, your take on a modern man today. Mike is all about manning up, right? And if you don't know, his book, Man Up, which he wrote, which is his sort of autobiography, his experience from his, coming out. finding out about his identity. Tell me what you think about modern men and the challenge that they're facing today with some of the men that you work with, including some of the most successful men. I believe successful men also have similar challenges as a man, right?
No, it's true. I mean, so it's wonderful to be here. I mean, for me, based on how you framed today's conversation around International Women's Day, it is clearly about celebrating women. But women do not rise in isolation. You know, societies rise when men evolve alongside them. So I would assert that the world does not need louder men; it needs better men. So true masculinity, in my opinion, is not about domination. It's about direction, about discipline, about devotion to something, you know, greater than oneself. So I think what I love about what Mike's work's doing is that we're relearning and likely unlearning what we've come to know about masculinity. And I think there's a real great misunderstanding of the idea of masculinity. As a father to a 19-year-old, this is super clear for me because he's a young man. And I've watched him grow from, you know, child to boy, from boy to teen, from teen to man. And he's wrestling with some of those things himself, along with his friends. So what I've come to observe firsthand as a dad, as a father, and a proud one, is masculinity today is confused between two extremes. You've got this hyper aggression, right? And then you've got this complete passivity. And neither one of those are leadership. You know, masculinity at its best is, you know, protective without controlling, right? Confident without arrogance, and ambition without ego. So strength is not proven by, you know, power over others, but responsibility for others. And I think we see this more now than ever before, given what the geopolitical events of the globe is going through, with wars raging on in Iran, the war continuing in the Ukraine, and unsettlement around the world for all kinds of different reasons. So in short, I think what men are getting wrong today, and I say this proudly as one of them, is many men are chasing signals and signs of success rather than substance. You know, we're measuring our worth through status and money and flex. No offense to your biceps, Mike, but you get what I'm saying.
No, I mean,
we're confusing wealth with identity. We're replacing purpose with consumption. So what's happened, especially as I'm in the space of really providing financial thought leadership for those who want to live and leave a legacy, financial success without emotional maturity is just basically a grave mistake. And influence without integrity is equally one. So the world does not need richer men. The world needs men of character who are richer in the things that matter most. And I think that's what women should count on. That's what our brothers should count on. That's what we should learn more of.
I would just want to applaud you for that one, Richard. And right before you jumped in, because I can't agree. I agree fully with everything you said, and that comes from hard-learned experiences. But before you jumped in, I was about to explain, Camelia, that I learned it the hard way, and I learned, you know, women are hypergamous by nature. You know, that's not an insult. That's just a firmware where they're looking, you know, where we think that women look at us the same way we look at them, but we look at women as, you know, beauty. That's mainly what women does to begin with. What women, they look more for men for resources. Can he protect the kids? Can he provide? There's many things they're looking for. But then I thought that women were looking for money. Now here I go, I find a woman, and suddenly whatever I was supposed to give her, and fair enough, she came in and she thought I was giving her that. When I couldn't give her that, she left me. And that's not because she was not, you know, ruthless, or she was just mental clarity. But then what I figured was one thing that a woman would never leave, never, is discipline and integrity. If you have discipline and integrity, first of all, you'll attract women that also sees that. But that's something, again, when I became a father to a daughter, that was like, what is the greatest gift I can give my daughter? What is the greatest gift I can give her if I should cut it all down? Well, if I am 100% integrity-full and discipline-full, I don't think you can give a daughter a greater gift of showing her what that means. And to be honest, when I started living the way I live today, I also learned that happiness, because, you know, we chase happiness. We think happiness is on the other end of the rainbow. But when you then have gotten a lot of the stuff on the end of the rainbow, you figure out, shit, I'm still not happy. What's going on over here? But then peace How do I get peace? And then I figured on that journey that I can just support everything you said. Peace for me is when you are in the process of becoming who you want to become. And that takes deep work, right, to figure that out. But I sleep good at night because I keep my own promises. And it doesn't matter how my business is going. I just sleep good at night because I kept my word. And I think that's something bigger than and greater than money. And I think men in the world today needs to really understand that.
No, I agree. I think what you're practicing, especially, I've worked with Tony Robbins for over 15 years, and Deepak Chopra and Robin Sharma, and today I get to call Grant Cardone or Brad Lee or David Meltzer, the chairman of Napoleon Hill Foundation, friends and colleagues, and I'll come down to three things. And you're practicing all three, Mike. And I think it's the role of mindset and where men need to get that right. Masculinity begins in the mind. I mean, before it appears anywhere else. And that when you start to develop those internal disciplines, the first, which you clearly do, is self-awareness, like really stepping back and asking yourself, like, who am I really? The second then is self-mastery, controlling your impulses. I don't necessarily look at a guy who's got lots of money and a nice car and a fancy watch and physically got it together as someone who's got self-mastery. They have self-mastery to a certain degree in those domains of life. What I want to see is how often they say no. How often do they do without? How often do they push back, live within their means, and or live according to a budget? And then the last is really like a self-responsibility, owning the outcome, whether good or bad, right or wrong, right, defeat and or victory. So I think a man becomes dangerous when he has power without self-mastery, because we're seeing this right now unfold in the world through geopolitical events. I mean, at the end of the day, that's where we can create some chaotic crisis and concern. So good for you for, stepping back and being a dad, good for you for really reflecting and asking yourself the question, what kind of male role model does my daughter deserve? And who do you wish for her to understand is the standard she must look at men up to and through? Because we as men in our little daughter's lives is the standard. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, that's what woke me up. So
Yeah,
I agree. I love your self-awareness, self-mastery, self-responsibility. That's so stoic.
Yeah, it is. But and I hang out with a lot of guys like, Brad Lee, the real deal. Grant Cardone also. I coach a lot of really big superstar men from men in the NBA, guys who dominate the octagon. And what I find is that sometimes even we men turn up masculinity a bit too much in areas that now obscure the clear picture of who we are and are aspiring to be. Meaning, if you turn up one color in the domain of your television set, let's say red or tint, well, all of a sudden it skews the entire experience of the picture in what you're trying to see. What you try to get is balance, right? You get the hues right, the color right, the tint right. And so what I think is the modern definition of a strong man is, he leads without intimidation. He earns without arrogance. He loves without possession. He listens without insecurity. He builds without needing an applause. I think strength is what we're redefining as brothers and men and such. I think what we all have got to come up to is a new language and a lexicon and a new screen set for saying, what does it mean to be a man today? Given, here it comes, and you'll appreciate this, brother, and especially with Camelia, is given who the woman of today is. Because who my mother was when I was growing up, and who my grandmother was when I was first born, and who her mother's mother was in those yesteryears, the world of a woman and their role in our world today has completely evolved and transformed, and we're all better for it. So if that's happened without argument, then we must, as men, stop for a second, say, time out. We need to reinvent, recreate, or reimagine what it means to be a man today, because a lot of those old languages, lexicon, means of measures is different. Strength today, in closing, is not force, it's stability. And I think I've come to learn that the hard way with women in my life, where it's like, oh, I got it. It's not just about being strong. It's about being stable and consistent and predictable. And you can count on me, right? Even though I show up to this live, stream late. I'm here though.
You know what? You're not even, here's the thing, guys. You're not even late. I literally texted Richard this morning, and he was so gracious because I've been trying to lock him down. And he's, of course, impacting the world and doing all kinds of things. And we've even been tried to physically get together because are you in Toronto right now?
Like, I am in Toronto, but I'm leaving. I'm like literally leaving tomorrow. So it's like the timing was right.
Amazing. And the conversation is also right. Like there's no better time than right now to be talking about the how men can deal with modern women, and modern women struggle. We have a lot of Mike's audience is largely, successful men that, need to work on their integrity and obviously self-sabotage. And I have a lot of females messaging me as well. And Mike, you're getting DMs from women saying, hey, where do I find these successful guys? Right. So we know a little bit about Mike's story. Richard, tell me, how did you get to the point where you understood that this trilogy here, self-awareness, self-mastery, self-responsibility? Clearly you didn't grow up knowing these things, or maybe you did. Can you share a little bit about how you got to this principle?
No. Because I mastered the first and fourth undeclared dimension to all of what we're talking about, and I screwed it up. I mean, early on, I got relationships wrong. Early on, I had a very warped view of what it meant to have a man. Male figures in my life. And so for me, I think I grew up in an old-fashioned way, but in a new world. And that doesn't work. Given the stage and state of life I'm in, I learned how to be a man the old-fashioned way. And there's no room really for old-fashioned way. And I'm not saying that chivalry is dead. Don't get me wrong. I'm a diehard romantic. But I think what led me on my own journey was I just wasn't happy with who I was and the quality of the relationships I was creating in my life. I was massively successful by all measures, financially or reputationally, but I was internally bankrupt. And so as a result of having this net worth rich, but internally poor view, it was born out of just that era that I grew up in, which was, Tony Robbins was just getting started and self-reflecting was just becoming a new thing. And, the Deepak Chopras and the Robin Sharmas and all that sort of stuff. So for me, I think through self-work, self-observation, self-regulation, not only did I learn, wake up and press reset, not for yet. I don't forget the things I went through and the scars I still have, but by relearning what it meant to be a human being, what it meant to be a man, but be a man in a way in which worked for me, not worked for my father or my grandfather or for the military lineage that lives in my family and all of the other wonderful machoism views of what it means to be a man today in today's world. So for me, I gave permission to myself to reevaluate, reimagine, but then recreate. So doing that, I'm now a great byproduct and living demonstration for how I'm able to recreate anew. Because here's what I'll say in closing, is none of us have to be and or are permanently the way we are. You can change anything about yourself on an instant. So there is no life sentences. There's no like, well, that's just the way my dad taught me, or that's just the way it is. And you can't teach a dog, new tricks. It's all lazy talk, right? And I don't want to make this mental masturbation either, but it's all a function of saying, hey, you've got the power to choose. So what are you choosing? And by the way, no choice is a choice. So I'm humbled by the fact that I've been able to do the great work I have. I'm an advisor to brands, businesses, and their leaders. I've worked with some of the most iconic, most legendary figures in the history of mankind, from U.S. presidents to Oprah Winfrey to members of the royal family. I'm just really humbled by that, and I know that if I didn't do that work, right, Mike? If I didn't do the work that we did, then man, I'd be flying high as shit right now, because that would be like the wonderful thing. But I'm cool, I'm grateful, and I'm just blessed. And so there's a powerful stillness about that significance, and I'm at peace with that. So I think we got to watch out for men who are at home with who they are and are at peace with who they are not, because that's a man worth having in your life. Wouldn't you agree, brother?
Well, I would say the way you articulate, I'm just swallowing everything you are saying. You're articulating it so well. I've been processing this now intensively for for 2 years and worked on myself and had the privilege to work with other men about it. But you're just nailing it. So yeah, I agree.
Well, here's an audience question that we have. Hey, Carmelia, bringing your attention to those who are in between their 20s. What's your best advice for them to succeed? Now, it's generally broad, but I'm going to allow the men who are featured here. I will share my female perspective, but let's start with our guest, Richard. What would you say to that?
Well, I think we have to really watch the role models in our life. You know, we are learning machines from the minute you came out that womb. I mean, you're here absorbing like a sponge, just who to be and how to become and what to become next. So a lot of times, as you know, it's been said in ancient philosophy that we were born into a state of thrownness. We had no say in the matter, right? No say. So when you think about that, we didn't have a choice in the color of our skin, the language we spoke, the circumstances we were born into, or the conversations that we kept, the culture we were born into, or the belief system that we were born into. You had no say in it. So as you grew up and through what you were thrown into, you had no say in the color of your hair or the twinkling of your eye or the lack thereof. No, but as you grew and you came into your own, you've got to ask yourself, what's shaped me? What's influenced me? What have I been aspiring to be? So I think for those in their 20s, we have to do a timeout and say, hold on. If you were to inventorize who you are or remind yourself of, what are they? Like take for example, your laugh, right? Your laugh, when you laugh, your laugh, you weren't born with it. You weren't born with that laugh. What happens according to psychology and in child development is that by the time you were 5, you're only about 10% hardwired. You took a little bit from Uncle Jerry and a little bit from Aunt Mary, a little bit from Dad and a little bit from Mom. So by the time you're about 12, 13 years of age, it was about 50% hardwired. By the time you're 18 to 21, it was permanent. Your laugh hasn't changed since about your 20s. So that's a learned behavior. So if you're in your 20s, you've got to realize something. How you are and who you've become is not permanent. It was learned. So I think role models is a really great clue. Who have you been shaped by directly or inadvertently, right? By choice or by chance, and say, hey, because who I was, real quick, if I could just 30 seconds more, was I realized that I was shaping myself after superheroes and comic book heroes and like really big role models. There's no comic books. There's no Spider-Man in my family. There's no Superman on my block. But growing up as a young boy, I thought I had superpowers. And guess what? That lends to a sense of invincibility that's just not real. And I got to tell you, today's women, they're not looking for invincible. They're looking for vulnerable, because I think vulnerable is the new invincible. But that's just my own 2 cents. So I think for your friend at Heaven, I think it's at Earth. That's it. Heaven at Earth. At Heaven at Earth. Here's what I would say to you: is just take an inventarization of the who you've become based on the role models you have, but who do you want to be as you look forward and start to reshape or recontour who you become. Mike, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, so you went down the deep path, which I totally agree with, and it couldn't be. It's true. But looking back in my 20s and the people I've coached, I've also 7 years ago I coached a lot of men who were in the 20s, and we haven't gotten that deep yet. So I would say find a role model. Translate that. Find a role model. But to be honest, work your butt off. Don't look back. Work. Learn. Fail. Don't fear. Just don't think about being humiliated. Don't think about embarrassment. Don't think about all these things. Just work so hard that you have never worked before, because you think you're working hard. Because if your worldview is this is hard work, you're going to meet someone who's going to put you in your place, because that's not hard work. And that's, I think you have to break your own levels of, here comes some depth into it, your levels of awareness, right? I love Stephen Seapoll, the Canadian guy who wrote the book, the 177 Secrets of Mental Secrets of World Class. And he literally nails it. And he says that we have awareness levels, which is poverty, working class, middle class, upper class, world class. And to get into that world class awareness level, you gotta work through your limiting beliefs so hard. And you can only work through your limiting beliefs. And the limiting belief for the young man asking the question is you saying, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I'm worth it. I think this is too impossible. People like me can't do that. You can, and that's another thing. So one thing is to find a role model to look at, but you can be so fortunate in that age to actually work with your role model. But the guy who is your role model, he won't pick you if you don't work hard. So working hard is just access to that. And now the second thing is, if you really want to be fortunate to work with your role model, not pay him, because sometimes you can pay him to teach you, and which I think is a great gateway. If you can pay him and you find him as an interesting figure and you have money enough to pay him, but then work hard and don't play with your integrity. Like, integrity is such an invaluable asset that role models, they value, because nobody has it. It's very rarely people has integrity. So if you can have integrity and you can work hard through your entire 20s, I can't see why you're not going to become a success, because then you hardwire yourself into something that's going to be so valuable in your 30s.
I love that. And my addition, and really my solution to a lot of common challenges, is to always be curious, using curiosity as a framework to understanding yourself. That's the first part of self-awareness. When I started, to think, even the question, what's wrong with me? Not that that's a bad question. It's like, why do I do this? Where did I get that thought? Sometimes people in their 20s, or people who have built that success, think they know it all already. There's nothing new to learn. There's nothing new to gain. And so I always believe, even at turning 54 soon, that you don't know what you don't know. I still do. There's so much to learn. And so when you apply that principle of curiosity to yourself, and really being honest with yourself and asking those hard questions, a lot of times people don't want to know the answer to that question, because it'll reveal something about their integrity or their personality or their childhood. They're avoiding those things. And so for me, anytime that something's going wrong, or I know I want to take the next level, I always apply the principle of curiosity to ask the questions that'll give me an answer, even if I don't want that answer. So that would be my advice. How do you use curiosity, Richard, in terms of getting to the bottom of things?
I think curiosity is a really great natural occurring phenomenon that we really outgrow when we were kids. Like, kids were curious when they were small because they wanted to learn, they wanted to belong, they wanted to connect, they wanted to do as we did. But somewhere along the lines, when we got into our 20s, we realized, being curious means I've got to be responsible. I gotta pay, or I pay for it if it goes wrong, or I might be accountable. And so we begin to defer and deflect these opportunities. So you got to know that which you resist shall persist. You got to lean in where it's dark. You got to really dig deep when you're scared, and you got to really, I would echo what Mike says, do the work, and not just work like as in, clock the hours in and put in the reps. I mean, you got to do the work on self and on your relationships and being with your kids and putting that's work. It's all work. Existing is work, and everything works when you work it. Everything works when you work it. Everything works when you work it. So I think curiosity is a real wonderful disposition to take on, and say, I'm going to lean on everything. I'm curious. Just ask 3 questions, no matter what, and just be curious to know what the answers are, and that will make you play with life, play in life, and not take things so damn seriously, because I think we really actually are overthinking a lot of it. We just got to, take it easy, calm down. We're only human, and have some fun. Curiosity will trigger just that.
I love that. Now, when it comes to
existing is work. Let me just, that was good. Existing is work, which I talk a lot about, that our biggest addiction in today's society is comfort. Like comfort. And what I found myself was my vices. So when I was bored, that was when I got my desires for my vices. When I was bored, so I wasn't existing. So existing is work. So that doesn't mean I'm not existing physically, but
riff off that. Hold on, Mike. I'm going to push back, because the performance advisor me is now bubbling up. The guy who's got 3 NBA championship rings, the guy who coached Mike Tyson back in the ring, the guy who's got 2 constructor championships. Let me tell you this. When we're bored, men have to recreate. We're builders. So as soon as you feel boredom, build something. Build a bench, build a broom, build a business, build a relationship, or build a day, whatever it might be. But men are built to build. So what I'm saying is this, is that your mind, your brain is only perfected one act only for the past 3.26 million years. That's one act, and that act is survival. And so anything that comes to you as a threat, uncertain, a crisis, unknown, we avoid. So we are wired to get bored. We're wired to like find comfort because comfort is predictable. Comfort is consistent. And yes, my female sisters, they really thrive in predictability. Why? Because they're far more emotional traditionally than men are. So when men endure that which is inconsistent because we're explorers and it's in our blood, women are like, wait, I don't like all this turbulence. Look at all this wind. It's messing up my hair. Mine too, by the way. Not Mike's. But I mean, now you realize, but it's like, babe, I'm an explorer. I got Viking blood. Like, this is what we're to do. We're supposed to explore. And they're like, not me, not this woman, not this era, not this time, not this generation. Turn it down, tune it up, and buckle up. Let's get back to shore because I got a manicure at 2:00, and so do you, by the way. So the reality is, I think what happens, brother, is that we have to respect our DNA. We're over 3 million years, we're built to survive, not be happy, not be content, not be flourishing, not even be motivated. All those are generative acts. So when I say existence takes work, it's like you've got to generate past being safe, being small, feeling stuck, or even stalled. Because those are all very good to stay in existence as you are, but you won't be fulfilled. You ain't going to be happy. You won't be a rock star role model for that little princess. You're going to turn into a queen one day. Like none of that will come to be. So you have to create and build the what next, what now, what's new as a man. That's my belief.
Wow.
Like,
Amen.
oh my
Well
God.
done. I love that.
That is amazing. So Richard, when you shared your story, and I know you know David, and I know David, and even in David's life path, when he had all the millions and his wife wanted to divorce him, he had his like come to Jesus moment. I don't know what you want to call that, but you know, when you're coaching men up with money, with massive success, what is it about money that really has these guys just go off the rails? Can you share a little bit about what's going on psychologically? I'm sure you know a little bit about what's happening.
Well, it's and Mike knows this, brother. Look at him. Look at that guy. He's a specimen. He's a sexy specimen. He's smart. He's strong. He's brilliant, and he's hired the right person to represent his brand and his promise to this world. Like, come on, right? So great to be here, by the way. But it's scoreboard. It's scoreboard, right? We have this idea and this infatuation with a scoreboard. So like when you've got the right car and you've got the right bling and you've got the right amount of dollars, all of a sudden you've arrived, you've made it, look at me. But that's old technology. I'm going to break it down. I believe that in our financial life, we've never quite distinguished what it means to be successful financially. We always use these words, Carmelia, Mike, we always use these words interchangeably. Like, I've got a lot of money and I got a lot of wealth, and they use it like it's one term. It's not true. Money, wealth, and worth are different. They're distinct from each other. So if you're going to use wealth or money or worth as a scorecard, use it right, brothers. Use it right, because you're going to confuse our girls. And here's what's going to happen. Money is currency, right, Mike? It's the amount of money you have that you can spend and you can afford the life you've got. It can also come in the form of credit. Now, I got to tell you, sometimes I've gone to a gas pump. I've been to go pay for my gas and my card got declined. Now, I got to be honest. I'm rich. I'm wealthy. I'm wealthy. But in that moment, my card didn't work and I got no cash, I felt broke as hell. Because in that moment, my card didn't work. And all of a sudden, my self-worth, my high-end ass esteem crashed. All because I can't pay for a $100 tank of gas. So money is currency. Second, though, is wealth. And wealth, we see it as bling, anything that's shiny, house, stuff, luxury, right? And I've met people who've got a lot of wealth, but got no money. And I've met a lot of people who've got a lot of money, but they don't have much wealth. So they're not interchangeable. But the third is worth. And worth is defined by the value you give to and get from life, measured by time, freedom, and the power of choice. So when you think about being able to have that kind of worth in life, I found that your financial life is about stage and state. The older we get, the less money and wealth we pursue, because worth is where it's at. Having time, power of choice, and the freedom to do as you wish when you wish to, that's the right kind of financial force you want to embody. So when I was a kid and growing up and went on my first date at 16 and I pulled out a wad of cash, That cash wasn't mine. It was my father's. I stole it out of his wallet, but I wanted to showcase. I'm telling you the truth. I'm laying it down here for the first time. I pulled out that cash and I eked out a $5 bill to pay for that little dessert we both had. And I then had to sneak that money back into my father's wallet before it got detected. But I felt rich. I felt rich in that moment. Or when I became a teen and got my first job and I started driving a car that I couldn't afford and I was paying it with money I didn't have to impress people that weren't even watching. All for what? All for what? So what I realized, and I feel like I've gotten this after becoming a dad and understanding where I'm at and reinventing my heart and my hopes towards being a happier person, is that worth is where it's at. So I think for anybody at any stage in their life, they've got to realize that where men mess it up is that we're pursuing the wrong thing. It's like climbing a mountain all your life and you arrive and you realize this, it was the wrong one. Now what?
Shit.
Right? Now what?
Yeah.
So we've got to just watch where we're climbing and watch why we're climbing it.
Yeah.
Wow, guys, we're getting a master class in like all the things. Richard, like you just gotta, I know you have books, don't you? What are you doing right now? What are you excited? What excites you? What is it that provides your worth and happiness today? I need to
That's really kind. I think, look, because and I don't know, Carmelia, if you're a mom. I'm not sure. I never asked you that.
A mom. I'm a mom of 3. I have 3 children.
You're a mama bear?
Yeah, listen, my daughter's turning I have a 28-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 9-year-old. Okay.
Jeez, I thought this woman was fresh out of school. Oh
no, I'm a mama bear times 3. Are you kidding me? You should know that. Yes.
Okay, my bad. Look at you. You must.
I have 2 girls and I have a 21-year-old son, who's training to be an MMA fighter right now.
Amazing,
so,
amazing.
Yeah,
Love to help in any way I can.
Thank you.
Listen, I say this even with much more gravitas, and that's this. And Mike, you're a dad, and I'm a dad, and now we have a mama bear in the house, and anyone that's watching this live or on the recording, that's this. Is that when your kids ask you questions as they're forging their path ahead, you realize there's a real weight in what you say next, because they're leaning on that. So my son had been asking me questions over the past 5 years about what I did, how I did it, and why I was doing it. Like, how did you become an advisor to the royal family? Or how did you work with this guy? Or how did you end up breaking open that door? And how did you end up on that stage or in this circumstance? And so I began to tell him this stuff, but I began to write it down. And what I realized was I was actually building a memoir of my experiences and how I did what I did to do what I've done. And I think that is what makes me the most proud. So I got this copy. I mean, this, I just literally received like the actual, what do you call this? Like a sample copy of what it would look like. So
is that your memoir? It's not even out yet?
It's not out yet. It's not out yet.
Yes.
Wow. I want to read that one.
So you can see not for sale, right? See, not for sale, but it's just being edited. And I thought, what's amazing is that the only person I wrote this for was my son. To say, like, so this is who your dad was. Here's what I did. Here's how I screwed it up masterfully, but here's how I got it right. Here's how blessed I am to have gotten it so, and here's how you can too. In half the time, with less heartache, in ways in which you'll feel blessed too. So good luck. So it's kind of like a owner's manual of life. So it's not a motivational. It's a memoir. It's really like, here's all the cool stuff I did I thought you should know about. So that's got me excited.
That's what makes a good book when you write it to one person. That's what breaks you through the wall.
You're right, Mike. Because and I think if all men and women were here and they started writing a book, and by the way, look, I'm turning around, right? I'm turning around. Right here, you'll see there's a, do you guys see that? This is a pen, has my name on it. Yeah. In here, I write every week, once a week, to my son. So every week I'll write to my son.
So you write a journal. You write a journal to him about what you've learned and discovered.
You got it. Okay. And Mike knows this because Mike's a huge champion of writing in journals as well. And I love the work that you've been doing. But I'll say this to everyone that's following us or watch the recording, is that because when I leave this for him, that was the pen I used. These are the books I wrote in. But what's powerful is it's the galvanization of your essence to say that this life was lived to the fullest and you should know about it. So for me, and you're right, Mike, I so love that you said this, bro. I can't believe we haven't met each other yet, gone for a workout together, broke bread together, done push-ups beside each other. But you're right. Brother, you're right when you say this, and then I know Carmelia is right behind you, is that everybody here should journal and write, if not to your son, your daughter, your kids, or to your future self, about the journey you're taking. And the minute you realize you're living your future self, introduce them to the content that you've been exploring with them.
Richard, this is such a gift. And you know, right, my brain, because you know how my brain operates. I've already got like 18 different business ideas for what you just talked about. Like, imagine journaling to your partner, journaling to your wife, journaling to your sibling, journaling to your dead parent, journaling to that person that you've lost contact with, or maybe journaling to my younger self. Like, this is such a healing and profound exercise. And not only that, what a gift. You know, right now my mom's 81 and I'm probably her primary caregiver right now. And like, to be able to even have my mom and say, hey, mom, can you do me a favor? Can you write down your thought, whatever that is? I mean, I'm just thinking that, thank you for sharing that, because that was deeply personal, but also to your son. I can't think of a better gift of time and intention that he's going to get, because while you're traveling and away, for all these entrepreneurs that can't give time, that's one of the most intimate things. And the fact that it's in your handwriting is even better. So thank you for sharing that. That is so amazing.
And just a backstop to that, it wasn't my idea. When you think about all the greatest minds, leaders, innovators, and dominators of our history, they all wrote to their sons, their daughters, their families, and only because they wanted to record history in their name. So at some particular point when we got industrialists and we became capitalists and we thought that's all that mattered was the pursuit of more or greater, what ended up happening is we began to perform. We started living a performative existence where all of a sudden we're doing it for show. We're doing it for others. We're doing it to attract, be accepted, belong, or dominate. And I think that one of the things that I really invite men in particular to do a little bit more of, and I know, Mike, you're the heavyweight champion of doing this really well in championing this for people, is invite a little bit of humility to your life. You know, just take it down a notch. We know you're great. We know you're big, and we know you've got a 6-pack. And we're not talking about Mike alone, because I got a 2-pack. I got a 2-pack. I got a 2-pack. I got a 2-pack. And I'm coming for you, Mike. I'll have a 3-pack by May. By May.
Oh my God, you're amazing.
But
this is
amazing. Is humility, man. It's just so in my journal to my sons, like, here's what I learned, here's what I got wrong, here was an aha moment. So I have the revelation, but he gets to live through it like it was a revolution of his father, the family, and the dominance of what came next. So it's a real tribute. I think that's the word I want people to write down. It's a tribute. It's a tribute to your life, but for others. Mike, what do you agree, brother?
No, I would just say, so when I wrote my book, Man Up, I cried on almost every page because I wrote it to my old self, angry, frustrated. I didn't know who I was writing. I didn't even know why I was writing. I just said, I'm gonna tell you something, brother. And then I finished it and I learned a big lesson. And then I started writing a book for my daughter, and I'm currently just journaling in, sometimes every day, sometimes once a week. But I learned something beautiful. It's going to call A Letter to Ellie. And what I'm doing there, I'm actually writing my most honest, my most vulnerable version of me. And I'm learning more about myself on such a deep level because I'm surrendering to tell her something that she might not never read. It doesn't really matter, but I wanted to read it. And that has been my greatest self-discovery the last 6 months, writing that to her. So I'm with you on that. It's beautiful.
Well, remember, there's an old saying, right? And the saying goes like this, that it's not the weight in life you carry that will kill you. It's the way you carry it that will. So for you to write that book, for anyone to even journalize, what you're doing is you're simply just expressing that which you're holding on to, that because without it being fully expressed, we hold it. And by the way, I included, men are champions of carrying the worst shit ever. And by the way, women, you're second runner up. So don't laugh too hard.
I'm not laughing. I'm in menopause and you're making me cry. Okay. But, like I'm like so touched.
Yeah. So
I'm letting it go. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, listen, man, I got to say something as we're wrapping up. I definitely believe now I see precisely, without apology, why Carmelia wanted us to connect so many months ago. Dude, you are the real deal. You're on fire. You're full of heart. I love a man who's moved by love itself. And not love of himself, but love for what he does and what its purpose is. I am a yes to anything you like to do, a collaboration, an event, a workshop. I think that Camellia can actually co-host it, co-lead it with us. The world needs to be reintroduced to not only who it can be, but to fall back in love with its future, one man at a time. So, brother, you've got a fellow brother in arms. I'm here with you. However I can help and assist you, I'm here.
The first thing we're going to do is send you
so
his book. Okay. We're going to send you the book that nobody's had access to. And, you know, your endorsement on that, if you feel like, I'm sure it's his memoir. So we're going to send that to you.
Please do.
For everyone else who's watching, like, if you don't already know Richard, like, you have to know Richard. And Richard and I have tried to even get together physically. It's going to happen one of these days. It's going to happen. You know what? The timing is important. And this was the time that you needed to have this conversation. So thank you so much. Where are you off to, and how can we support you? What can we do for you?
Oh, listen, just thank you. Just all I want you to do is just know that I'm grateful. There's nothing else. That all that you needed to do has been done. All that I've wanted, I've gotten, and all that you asked for, I hope I provided. So to me, I'm just grateful to be here. I'm thankful for your friendship, Camellia, and your fanfare and your loyalty and your perseverance. For that, I think let it have itself be paid in spades by getting these two men together in a way that I know the world needs. And more to come. The plot thickens. More to come.
Yeah. Richard,
right.
Also, everyone listening here, guys, first of all, thank you so much for listening to our live here. But Richard, you know, sometimes it's like when you meet a person, it's like you feel home. And you never met the person before, you know that. And I feel that with you. I feel I have so much to learn. You know, you have years ahead of me, and you have had thoughts, more time to really ruminate on your thoughts. And I would love to unpack that. There is a feeling of home feeling when you speak. So thank you for that.
Hey man, in life it doesn't matter who's right. What matters is who's left. And if men have learned something really hard in the wrong way, is like if it's gonna be, it's up to me. Nonsense. I've never liked lifting a couch up and down stairs alone. So I think one of the things men need to just do is get over themselves and say, hey, I need a brother, I need a helper, I need a friend, and that's cool. It's not submission. It's not an admission of being less than. It is part of our nature to build tribes, to give rise to great nations and empires by helping each other up. And I think, brother, that's what you recognize in me, is because I see a lot of who I've been inside of the journey that you've now called home yourself. So congratulations to you. God bless you, man. Stay healthy, stay well, which I know won't be a challenge for you. But my 2-pack is coming for you, bro. It's coming for you. Right?
I can't wait, Richard.
One last final question, just before we got 3 minutes before we cut off. I saw you recently, and I see you a lot with. You've been hanging out with Jim Quick, Dave Meltzer. There's an event that you guys are doing, or that you just did. And you know, when you speak, when Jim talks, I'm like, holy crap, everything that comes out of his mouth is like a freaking tweetable. Same thing with you. Everything you're saying is like, I gotta write this down. Do you get awed by people like that? Like, what are you guys up to? What are you building together?
I mean, I think birds of a feather, you know, make an impact together. And so for that, what we realize is that, you know, whether it's David Meltzer or whether it's Bradley or Jim Quick or John Lee and others, first of all, it's really great. And Mike, you'll know this as your book hits the newsstands, and as you start to build the momentum that you're destined to build, because you're going to be doing great God's work. You begin to find your people. You get to find your front line. And so first and foremost, we're having a blast. David Meltzer is one of the hardest working human beings I know on this planet. And I say that as one of the hardest working people I know. And I know, Mike, you're not too far behind me. So he really does lift my own standards of behavior and effort. But we're currently just looking at the future of the human betterment business. So all the self-help, self-leadership, self-growth folks, we're starting to see that there's a bit of a parting, if it were, between the mental masturbation, if it were, as I've said earlier on, that a lot of the market space creates, but the real risk takers, the real courageous, like you, Mike, the ones who are really trying to move the needle, like others we can name that are really doing a great job, who aren't doing it to be performative, right? There's one calling you right now. I mean, not to be performative, not to be entertaining, not to be influential, but to make an impact. So Jim and I've got this thing called Inner Triangle that it's really super cool. David and I are partners on Meltzer Capital and Advisory, where we're doing really cool things with business owners. But I'm going to involve you, Mike, because you got to be involved. First, we need a really good, well-spoken gentleman like you on the team. One, and two is the work that you're doing can only be it can only be amplified by the work we're doing, right? So
oh man, you guys are the rock stars, man. I'm actually been talking a little bit back and forth with David. I love David so much, and I've also been a little bit dialogue with Brad Lee. He's a hard man to catch, though.
No, he is a hard man to catch, but
thank you so much, Richard.
Yeah, but good. If there's anything I can do to help you in any way, shape, or form with those names or others, I'm a phone call away. Carmelia knows exactly how to reach me.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much, Richard.
Thank you so much for your time, Richard. God bless you, man. Thank you.
God bless you, brother.
Okay.
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you, Camelia. All right.
Thanks, Camelia. Great job. Great job, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.